Again, if anybody's going to speak under unscheduled public comment, we have a sign-up sheet up front. Please put your name on there, and we'll let you speak. At 3 minutes. Huh? Oh, or the public hearing for the transfer of license for a liquor license.
Yeah.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. This is our regular scheduled city council meeting for the city of Idaho Springs, July 22nd. Can I have a roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Here.
Scott Pennell. J.C. Stokes. Here. Bob Boland.
Here.
John Kirk.
Here. Please stand with us for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Right, Council, we have an agenda in front of us. I do have a couple of amendments to it. First, Chief has got 3 action items that he wants to add to his staff report. And also, talking with scraps of soil, we still haven't gotten everything narrowed down, so we will table that. The second reading of ordinance 15 to a later date. That will not be on the agenda tonight.
Mayor, you request August 12th.
Okay, so we'll move that to August 12th for the second reading?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda for the July 22nd, 2019 meeting as amended.
Do I have a second? Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll move to, does anybody have a conflict of interest? Council with tonight's meeting? All right. Approval of the minutes.
Move to approve minutes for July 8th, 2019.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Everything looked right in the minutes? Yeah. All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. We'll move to the approval of the bills. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve bills for July 22nd, 2019.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion and a second. Discussion. Anybody see anything that we want some clarification on? Why? All right, doing none. Can I have roll call, please?
Michael Hillman.
Yes.
Scott Pennell. J.C. Stokes. Yes. Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Kirk.
Yes.
All right, next on the agenda is unscheduled public comment. Do I have any signed up, Andy, please? Yep. Okay, Judy Murphy, on that.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Can you state your name and where you reside, please?
Judy Murphy, 639 Pine Slope Road.
Great, thank you.
So mostly I'm interested in the Soda Creek Highlands Metro District and concerned about not knowing that that was going to be on the agenda tonight. Is there a someplace where we can see that, and also what these resolutions actually are?
This is kind of public comment, so we hold that to comments and not discussion. Our agendas are always on the website for the meetings, so anybody can look at the website and see what's on our agenda. Okay.
Is there a place where I can see what these resolutions are on the website?
Yes, the whole packet's on the website.
Okay.
It's just the agenda.
Oh, you're not, but you can request the agenda. I mean, you can request the packet. Yes, you can go back and request it.
On there the Thursday before your meeting.
Correct.
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 And since there's been redistricting, who is our representative on council? Is it still Scott?
No. It would be Bob, Ward 3, your Ward 3, is that correct? Ward 2 would be John Curtis.
And that hasn't taken effect yet.
Are you talking about currently or on the new?
Both.
It would, Painesville would still be John Curtis. Yes.
Okay, then that's all I can say.
Okay.
I can say right now.
All right. Mary Ann Selfert. Please state your name and where you reside, please.
Mary Ann Selkirk, 635 Pine Slope Road.
Good.
And so I'm kind of in the same position that Judy is, that we had signed up to be notified by email about any time this Highlands was going to be brought up at any meetings. And so we didn't know. Drove all day and got home 5 minutes before this meeting, and so we just popped in. And no, I've not seen the agenda or had time to even consider it. But I don't know what the service plan is, so I can't be
Right, and that's what
commenting
that's
until
what
I
we're
know
gonna,
what it is. But that's why I signed up, because I don't know.
okay. So with Diane, you said that you got on a list to receive information
Mr.
about?
Tiefenbach had us give him our information with a promise that we would be notified.
Okay, I'm very sorry about that. Alan Tiefenbach has been on vacation for a few
Yes.
weeks.
So we're surprised that this
I am very sorry that that's such a press, because there was nothing mentioned to myself or Diane. So I'm very sorry that that happened. But we can't postpone.
No. I understand.
I'm really sorry about that, Mary Ann. Like I said, Alan's out of town, and we have no idea. We will make sure that now that Diane knows anything. Yeah.
I mean, that's what the service plan tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Mary Ann. Mike Pawlowski.
Walk in the corner. I'm in that. Mike Kavaleski, 1129 Colorado Boulevard. I had a similar question. Did I put my name? I keep having trouble with the agenda. I'm sorry. I know this isn't just public comment, but there's been a few times that is there going to be any discussion about these once they're explained what they are this evening for everyone that's here at all? Is there an option for questions or anything? I think that's kind of.
That is not in the format. I will consider questions for the applicant.
Just for clarity, I guess, because
I believe that the presentation, we will allow some, because I want everybody to understand what this is, because I'll tell you that I think all of council, this is the first Bob may have, but I don't even know if we've ever had another metropolitan district. So this is going to be new to myself, and I'm interested in hearing the context of it.
Yeah, and with the public comment, I hate to get you to comment because I don't want to get the cart in front of the
Nope.
horse, you know?
Yep,
Does that make sense?
we'll definitely allow
Thank
questions for us to understand. Thanks, Mike. Becky Ford.
My name is Becky Clark, and I live at 634 Pine Slope. And I have some questions about the development going in, but evidently this is the right place to ask them, or the right time. Is that right?
This has nothing to do with the development. This is about the metropolitan district that's asked to be formed. So this has nothing to do with the development concepts or anything, the buildings, the layout, anything like this. This is strictly about the metropolitan district that they're trying to form.
Okay, well, could I ask you, when will we be able to address that and get your
The
opinion?
development,
Yeah.
well, there's already been one public meeting, and it has not even come to council yet. It's not been formally submitted to the city yet. So we have no idea. That's the developer, and we don't have a timeline. We haven't been told when it was going to be submitted.
Okay, well, when it is, how will we find out about that?
We will put out a public notice about it.
Okay, when you say public notice, you mean like in the newspaper or something
We'll
like
have
that?
it in the newspaper, radio. We'll put some signs up. We know this is a big project, and we want everybody to be notified and be aware of when these meetings are going to happen.
Okay, great, that's what I wanted to know, thank you.
All right,
Yeah,
yes,
there's
Becky.
also the planning commission process.
And actually, yes, it will go to planning commission before it will ever come to us.
Okay.
William,
Wonderlic,
we're gonna get to you because you're on the regular
I'm
schedule.
actually scheduled.
Yeah, so we're gonna skip over you and come back,
Thank
okay? Christie Schroeder?
I don't know, well, Nick from Park Idaho Springs told me that there was gonna be a discussion tonight about parking permits. So I put my name on there in case.
Okay, yeah, no discussion about parking permit. If you need any information on that, who did you talk to?
Nick,
Nick from the,
Park Idaho Springs.
Interstate.
from Interstate,
It must be,
Jonathan?
Maybe we could talk in the hallway.
okay. Okay, I've left 3 messages on the ambassador line, and I have been unanswered. I've left
Okay.
I've sent 3 emails that I've also been unanswered.
Okay, we will have that on our list. We have a meeting, it used to be on Mondays, but we'll have a meeting on Wednesday. And we will bring that up why not, because that was one of our big things that people weren't getting callbacks or confirmations for their, so we will address that. And let John talk to you. Okay. All right, that's all these unscheduled public comment. Now we're going to do public comment. William, come on up.
So you should have some documents.
Yep, state your name. Where do
Maria
you
Wonderlic, 738 Skyline Drive.
Okay.
Just a brief understanding. I've been a resident up here since I was 14 years old. We owned the house at 1237 Highway 103, and then built the cabin up about 16 years ago at 738 Skyline Drive. And it's been our vacation home. It's been my family home. My mom and dad own the place. We come up on weekends and vacations, and it's always been a great place to just kind of have a retreat from Denver. And we built both homes, the 3 of us, my dad, my brother, and I. And the issue is that we've been very consistent about our water bill. And every month it's been around $125 a month. And recently my father passed away in April 29th of this year. And we had a ceremony up there. And we had people that were staying in the home that didn't understand the particulars of the home. And it had a tank ladder that was stuck open. So we ended up using 1,068. That was it was close to 80,000 gallons of water over less than a month's period, because the tanker was held open, which instead of $125 average a month, it ended up being over $1,000 for the water bill. We weren't there to monitor that. It was family members that didn't understand the particulars, and we felt that when we saw the bill, we were obviously flabbergasted and thinking, oh my gosh, what's happened? So we were asking for a one-time reprieve based off of the past year's water usage, and Grace showing us that you may allow us to have the 125 average, or whatever the average is of those numbers, as a one-time reprieve. I have fixed the tank valve immediately when I got this. And, you know, it's just one of those things that we had people in there that didn't know that was stuck open. It hadn't been a problem before, and it became a problem when we had out-of-town guests that were staying there, which were family members, and they had no idea what was going on. So, and then we were there to monitor it when nobody was in the residence over that period after the memorial service that we had up there.
So normally, when we have something like this happen, we do work with the property owners. This is a little bit different, and I'll need to discuss with Diane because it does go through Chicago Creek Sand.
Right.
And we probably need to have a discussion, Diane, of how we should go about doing it. We usually give a credit or a benefit to one side of either the water or the sewer, because that's how it's mapped. That's how.
Right.
That's how your sewer is determined how much water you use.
Yeah.
This is the combined bill for
No, it is not. There's also a bill for the sewer of $470.14.
$458.14.
$478.14.
Okay. Probably is printed on.
And if I could, Mayor, historically, council has not given credit on the water side because it's water used. It is not normally given credit to the sewer side. And since this is a Chicago Creek sanitation situation, it's pretty spelled out. Usage was 82,000 gallons, and his normal bill is 2,000 gallons. So I think what the city is requesting is a credit to Chicago Creek Sanitation for $401.60.
That we would be given a credit back to.
Chicago Creek Sanitation, so they can work out the credit with him.
So the $478.14 is what they're asking. Is that correct?
And that would be the normal credit or the sewer charge minus the $478, correct?
The amount that was billed to Chicago Creek Sanitation was $458.14 for this account. Because of the high usage. And the utility billing clerk has indicated that his normal usage is 2,000 gallons. The difference between those two is $401.60.
Nice for $478. Not that it's a big deal. We're talking $1,000 with water.
So the 1,000 is only the water side of it. All right, council, any thoughts?
No, it's something complicated because it is, Chicago Creek.
Well, I would like to kind of table this and have a discussion with council and our billing clerk, since it is a little bit different and not a normal situation. So if you'll give us a little time, and we'll get back with you on that.
That'd be great.
Okay.
What can I expect to hear from you?
I would say next week.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
Or do we need to put this on a work session? Andy? We just discuss it internally or on a work session?
Well, council's going to need to make a motion to award any kind of a credit,
Right.
So it would be next.
Next
If you
regular
want to
meeting.
talk about it, it would be a work session. If you want to act on it, it would be
Be the following
August
meeting
12th.
before we make the determination.
Can you, between now and then, can we make sure that we don't have to pay that bill between now and then?
That's not my, it's for my pay grade.
Okay.
Diane?
Well, Chicago Creek Sanitation's already billed you for it.
Yes. For the sewer
And you
use.
haven't paid Chicago Creek Sanitation?
We haven't paid either one.
I would advise you to pay them and then get a credit from this, or the city would then credit Chicago Creek Sanitation, and then you guys would have to put that.
All right. I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you very
And
much.
most of the time, Lily, like Diane said, we relieve the sewer side. It's just the production of the water
Yeah, I
being
understand.
fair to not only you and the city, but the rest of the constituents of the community.
Well, we have some bond restrictions too on water.
On not charging for water.
Yeah.
So, okay, let let us be back with you. We'll discuss this and we'll get back on the agenda.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Our inclination is to do what we can. Of course.
Okay, we will move down to liquor licensing authority. Is the applicant for the liquor license here? I will choose not to. We will table this till our next regular meeting, since the applicant isn't here to answer any questions.
Do you mind voting on that as a council? I don't know, a date?
Do I have a motion?
Move to, table the, liquor authority hearing for the applicant, requesting change of premises to the next meeting, which is the next regular meeting, which would be August 3rd, well, 12th, sorry.
And that is Hard Luck Colorado Division, LLC.
A second.
Motion is second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll table that to August 12th. So we'll move down to resolutions. This is where we're going to hear now from a presentation of the Soda Creek Highlands Metro District.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Matt Ruland, 2129 Clay Street, Denver, Colorado, with the law firm of College, Cockrell & Cole. I'm here joined by Kevin O'Malley with Soda Creek Highlands Development Company, the owner of the property, as well as Alan Masloff, who's with George K. Baum, the entity that underwriters that prepared the financing plan with our service plan. And to start off, I just want to let everyone know that this hearing tonight, or this meeting tonight, and the resolutions have nothing to do with the development approvals. That's a whole separate process that you guys will go through. There'll be a chance for comments on all the various issues that have to do with that, and no development can occur until those development approvals happen. What we're here tonight to do is try to get a service plan approved for these two districts, which will allow the districts to organize in November. And these districts serve as financing tools to pay for some of the infrastructure that goes along with a project of this size. This has been sitting vacant. I'll go through here, move on before I. All right. So the overview of what I'm going to talk about tonight is I'll talk about the generalities of the development as we see it today. Once again, that will get hammered out throughout the development process. Speak about special districts and service plans generally and how they are handled throughout the state. Talk about our situation specifically and what we are asking for. Tell you about having the two districts and how that works and what we would do with these districts. And then go through the findings that would allow you to approve the service plans. All right. So first, the Soda Creek Highlands development is just under 45 acres total, located within the city. The initial boundaries of the district will be very small because we're going to allow for inclusion of the entirety of the 43.59 acres to be in one or the other of the districts to allow for variance in development. If some gets developed over time, it'll go in one district. If it needs to, for various development purposes, needs to be a second district. We have that second district.
Can everybody in the audience hear?
No.
No?
Okay. I saw everybody got to lean them forward.
All right. Can you hear me better now? All right. Sorry about that, folks. All right. So the development is anticipated to have multi-family housing, which will be condominiums and townhomes, and they will be a price between 57% and 86% of the current sales price in Idaho Springs. There's anticipated to be 300 units constructed, and you can see the breakdown of 72 one-bedroom condominiums, 108 two-bedroom condominiums, 30 two-bedroom townhomes, and 90 three-bedroom townhomes. This will hopefully serve a housing shortage need in Idaho Springs and do it at a cost-effective and accessible manner. So districts in general. Generally, metropolitan districts are defined by providing two of those services. I won't go through each of the services, but the district will be authorized to provide these services with certain limitations that are in the service plan. Most specifically would be the construction of public improvements, would include roads, water, sanitation, and related infrastructure. Metropolitan districts can finance and construct the public improvements, which is the main purpose of the district we're trying to organize here. They may also provide operations and maintenance of public improvements. As the service plan is constructed now, we are not authorized to do so, but the district would not be authorized to do O&M, operations and maintenance. But with an IGA or intergovernmental agreement with the city, we could be authorized to do so if that's the wishes of the city going forward. And metropolitan districts may provide covenant enforcement. We have the authority to do so, but we don't have the obligation. So if there were to be covenants imposed, it could be imposed or enforced by an HOA or the district. So generally, metropolitan districts, metropolitan districts are publicly accountable, just like the city council here. We must have open meetings, keep minutes, annual budgets, do audits, unless there's certain exceptions. If it's under a certain dollar amounts, you can get audit exemption. The power of eminent domain, but you'll see in the service plan here that's limited for this district. There's governmental immunity for the district and the directors if they act within the scope of their duties. And metropolitan districts have the power to levy taxes, assess fees, rates, tolls, and charges in order to fund various activities of the district. Some of you may recall the late 80s, early 90s, where there were some financial difficulties with districts, and mill levies went skyrocketing very high. In reaction to that, the Colorado legislature came up with several different laws. The most significant for special districts is 32.1.11.01 sub 6, which imposed a number of limitations on when a district can issue debt. And it basically says you can only do it under certain circumstances, or if you have a cap mill levy, which we would have in this situation for these districts. The purpose of these changes is to help transfer that risk of not having skyrocketing mill levies. The risk would go on to bondholders and the developer, that if development does not occur as is anticipated, the residents would only be capped at that mill levy. So if only half the development happens, there's not the risk of those homes having to pay for the undeveloped property. Service plan protections. So this is more of a general conversation, and we'll go into the specifics of our protections. But generally, service plans throughout the state now cap mill levies for debt at a certain rate. It has fluctuated throughout the years, but typically it's been around 50, and that's what we're asking for here. This mill levy cap provides protection to the property owners. Once again, it transfers that risk onto the bondholders and the developers, and makes it so that the property owner can be sure that for debt they're capped at how much their mill levy would be. So we're going to go to the specifics now of what we're seeking. We're seeking multiple districts. This will be 2 districts. And the reason for that, there's a number of them, with the most important being it allows for flexibility in terms of financing and construction of the improvements. We don't want to start constructing improvements for the entirety of the district just so we can get the financing out of the way and then have the project stall, and then you have roads leading to nowhere that are just sitting there deteriorating before development's there. So with the multiple districts, we can put the first phase in district number 1, and if development's going at a great pace and people are moving in, we can keep it all within district number 1, and then we can dissolve district number 2 in the end. If it turns out that we need to slow down the economy or the phasing needs to be spread out more, then we can wait and do the second phase of the infrastructure with the second district. So once again, it allows for there to be efficiency of government, while at the same time allowing for you don't have, once again, roads and sewer lines deteriorating without use. It's anticipated that all of the inclusion area, which is that whole 43 and change of property of acres, will be included into one of the districts in the end. And one thing that's important here is that we have a debt issuance limitation in the service plan of $7.5 million. And that's shared between the 2 districts, which means if one district issues debt, that takes away from that $7.5 million for both districts. And then if the one issues $5 million, there's only $2.5 million for both districts to draw on. They don't both have the $7.5 million. All right, the powers that we're looking for Soda Creek Highlands, it's the ones that are on the list from the statute with water, sanitation, sewer, parks, rec. And it means that we have the power to construct all of these public improvements. And it's intended that in this service plan that the district would help finance a portion of those public improvements and then convey ownership and maintenance over to the city or some other appropriate jurisdiction. I saw a comment of fire improvements, and those would go to their fire authority for their any fire improvements. If there's fire hydrants, would go to that. If there's a water sanitation provider, those would go to convey to them for ownership and maintenance, and certain things would go to the city. We conveyed over to the appropriate jurisdiction. It could be an HOA, and if it turns out that the district is the best entity to do so, then we would enter into an IGA with you, the city, giving us that authority to do so. But as of right now, you're restricting us from doing it, and instead giving it out to the proper jurisdiction that's already there. We're trying not to duplicate services. If there's someone out there or an entity out there that's already doing something, they should do it. We will just finance the construction. And the point of that is kind of the development pays its own way. They will pay for the infrastructure and then pass it along to the entity that can do the proper ownership and maintenance. And the district will have the power to borrow money, which is an important feature of this. These are financing mechanisms to help fund public infrastructure for the districts, for the development. There are a number of limitations in the service plan, and here are a few of the highlights. One is dealing with fire protection. They cannot provide fire protection facilities except for fire hydrants and related improvements that go with that. Districts cannot include within its boundaries any property that's not defined under the inclusion area. And as of right now, all of that property is owned by Soda Creek Highlands Development. So there's no other property owners within the city that could have their property included in this district without them coming to the district and requesting it. And at that point, we still have to come to the city and ask you guys for the authority to include that property. So there's no risk of any other property owner having their property impacted by these taxes. And the district may exercise its power of eminent domain, but it's limited in that it can only be within its boundaries. If it's outside of its district boundaries, it must come to the city and ask for authority, and it cannot condemn any city-owned properties without the city giving us the authority to do so. Some more limitations. The district shall not issue debt in excess of $7.5 million unless we come to you once again and ask for it to be increased. That would be a service plan amendment. We'd have to have another meeting and more resolutions passed. The district will not pledge any city funds or assets to the payment of the debt. Prior to issuance, the district must obtain certification of an external financial advisor regarding the reasonableness of the issuance. And the districts are authorized to impose a debt mill levy not to exceed 50 mils with some Gallagher adjustments, which I'm assuming you guys have been through and know how those affect the mill levy rate, but I can go into that deeper if you have questions. And they have the ability to impose operations and maintenance mill levy at a rate necessary. And the reason we leave it that way is if we don't have any operations and maintenance, it would be very minimal. It would be for insurance, accounting, legal services. But if there are operations and maintenance get transferred to the district, then there would be some costs that go along with operating and maintaining various improvements. There are some additional requirements that we'll have to adhere to as a district. A lot of them have to do with notices. We have to submit an annual report to the city by August 1st every year, giving you some updates on where we are in the development and in terms of bond issuances, so that you guys are aware of where we are. If you have questions, you can call us in and ask us to give you an oral report and let you know what's going on. And they have to provide annual notices to all eligible electors of the district, which include residents and property owners. And that has a list of things such as when the meetings are, when the next election is, if you want to get on the board, here's how you do it. And then lastly, there'll be another disclosure that's Exhibit F to the service plans, and that it gets recorded on the property. So when someone goes to buy a home in the district, they'll get this as part of their title report, which lets them know they're in a district and what their maximum debt mill levy could be, and kind of give them a heads up to do some due diligence to make yourself aware of what the district is and how it could impact you. And then anything that violates anything within the service plan that goes without the bounds of the four walls of that district service plan would require a service plan amendment, which would once again require us to come into council and have you guys give us approvals to go outside of that. The financial portion of it. The engineers did an estimated cost detail for the public improvements and determined to be just under $5 million of infrastructure costs for this project. The financial plan prepared by George K. Baum showed that at a levy of 50 mils, they could produce $5.3 million, which would result in just over $4.8 million in bond proceeds to help pay for some of the public infrastructures. If they were not to meet their development goals, or the financial capacities of the district were to be less, that delta between what the bond issuance produces and what the cost of the public improvements are would be borne by the developer, not by anyone else. That would be an investment that the developer would have to make. So there's various things that you would look at the service plan to determine that you should approve it. And I'll go through a few of them here. One is there's sufficient existing and projected need for the services to be provided by the proposed district. And as I said, there's 300 anticipated homes to be built here, and there are no services or public improvements there, so there's obviously a need for some infrastructure. Are the existing services in the area adequate or inadequate? And there is nothing there, no other entity is there to provide it, the city's not going to provide it, there's no other districts. So, no other districts out there, meaning these districts are needed to provide for this public infrastructure. Are the proposed district capable of providing economical and sufficient services to the area with the proposed boundaries? The financing plan shows that we can issue debt that would help cover some of the costs of the public improvements and would be able to handle and provide economical and sufficient services for the proposed area. The area to be included in the proposed districts have or will have the financial ability. Once again, the financial plan shows that they would have the ability to produce sufficient bond revenues to make this a good financing model to help pay for some of the public infrastructure for this project. Is there adequate service is not or will not be available in the area through the city or other existing municipality or quasi-municipal corporations within a reasonable time and comparable basis? Once again, there's nothing out there to provide the northern entities to provide the service. Are there facilities, do they meet the standards of the city? There's a provision in the service plan that requires anything to be constructed to meet the standards of the city, and those will be constructed as part of a development plan that will get approved by the city in a future hearing. Is the proposal in substantial compliance with city master plan? Once again, any development plans that would have the public infrastructures addressed will come through council in the future, and anything that you approve would be consistent with any master plan if there is one. Is the proposal in compliance with any adopted water quality management plan? We're not providing water services, therefore there's no water plan for us to keep in compliance with. And the creation of the district will be in the best interest of the proposed area to be served, and we believe that without the districts, this project is not feasible and it will likely not be developed. So the districts are necessary to be a financing tool to help spur development of this project. So thank you for your time. Like I said, these are very important financing tools for the project development. The development approvals will be at a future meeting that is complete separate from the districts. And at that time, there's a good time to address any development concerns that would be here. But I'm here for those questions. Kevin's here for development specific questions, and Alan is here for financial questions.
Council?
Yes, you said you get financing to help with some of the public improvements. So you're relying on the city to finish it?
No, that's a piece of the developer. So the developer funds the public improvements that are not covered by any bond issuance or district revenues. There will be no city funds to use towards construction of the public improvements.
Because home insurance.
Yep.
Well, how is the funding paid back?
Through the mill levy, the 50 mills on your tax bill. It'll just be one of the line items that is on our tax bill. Will be for the district.
And that's
So
only
what period of
for
time?
the people within the district.
Yes, only people, only property owners within the district. Yes. And it's typically, Alan can speak more specifically towards what he anticipates, but probably a 25, 30 year period for the bonds. Unless they get refinanced for a lower interest rate kind of segment.
So you're anticipating 750 people population?
Yes,
That's already
yes.
planned? Yeah. I don't know if our facilities at the water and wastewater plant are designed to do that yet. You know?
Oh, yeah. We've got plenty of capacity on water, and with the expansion, we should be good till the end of Idaho Springs is what we're hoping to expand for the sewer plant.
Yeah, I didn't see any plans on that. So, in the same way with John having to hire trucks and drivers.
Well, that's my next question. So who will own the roads and those water lines and sewer lines, and who will maintain them?
Typically, like if the roads would go, if the city maintains the roads within the city boundaries, that's typically who would take on ownership and maintenance because they're already doing it. They want to have control of the ownership and maintenance of the roads. And whoever providing water or sanitary sewer would typically take on ownership and maintenance of the public improvements. Once again, if that is not the pleasure of the city, they can direct it differently. But then we have to have an IGA between the districts and the city authorizing us to do that.
Current residents of Pine Slope, is there any benefit to them? They won't be a part of the district, that's correct?
They would not be part of the district. They would not be taxpayers of the district unless they were to move over there. There's potential benefits, I guess, if there's off-site infrastructure improvements to any of the nearby roads that the district needed for its development. That could possibly be part of that. But there'd be likely little impact on them. Perhaps, obviously, there'd be more residents going on certain roads.
Do we know how many road miles that are planned for
Traffic studies.
for the development?
I do not. Kevin may have.
We have submitted with our initial application, we submitted a traffic study which has all those distances, and we have the engineering which shows the roads, and the roads are basically, the road improvements are basically the same improvements that were suggested in both 1979 and 2006, I think, when previous owners of this property had talked about redesigning or developing. We do have, there are some modifications that have been proposed on Pine Slope, which Pine Slope has, for our property, Pine Slope has northern access and southern access. And the modifications that have been made at the southern access are that our road would start, people would enter on Pine Slope, and we would improve Pine Slope to whatever level the city wanted us to. And then as soon as it crosses our property line, the road would leave Pine Slope and go up onto our property. So previous iterations of development of this property have used all of Pine Slope. And so that it went by the homes of some of the people who talked about the public comment, unscheduled public comment, based on some of the addresses. I think that they're reasonably concerned about what would happen in front of their homes. And so we made the choice after a public meeting to change the alignment of our road so that it takes people off of what is now an unimproved gravel road, puts them on a paved road, and takes them up into our property, so that from the south side there would be no reason really for people entering or leaving the development to use that segment of Pine Slope. In conversations with Alan, he said, well, would you be willing to put a gate up? And what I suggested is that at the time, and we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves into another hearing, but what our thought would be is that whatever, if the folks who live on Pine Slope wanted to have some kind of a gate or a barrier there that would restrict access, we would put the money for that in escrow with the city. Because my belief is that the traffic flow would not warrant that. But the only way you know that is if you see what happens. And if you wanted the gate put in right away, we'd put the gate.
Okay, I think we're getting,
We're getting
there.
out,
We need to
but
circle back around to the.
yeah, so as far as Pine Slope, that southern part of Pine Slope, there would really be very limited impact from our roads. On the northern part, there's some, we've offered to the property owner up there, but have not included any kind of discussion, but we've offered to build a new access on the northern part of Pine Slope. It would start before the hot springs.
Okay.
And basically take us
We're
up.
we're getting more into plan development, so
Okay.
let's circle back around to
All right.
what we're discussing. Bob, you have a question?
Yeah, a couple. If, I would assume if the district, the metropolitan district doesn't have ongoing enforcement of covenants and that sort of thing, it could actually dissolve once the
After the
bond
debt's
is
paid off, that's what.
Is that typically what happens?
If there's no ongoing O&M and it's just there for financing, paying off the debt,
Yeah.
then yes, once the debt's paid off, it dissolves.
So at that point, yeah, it's just like any other part of the city. It's just another neighborhood.
And the infrastructure.
Okay. Yeah, just one comment. Your templates still refer to Deepwood Springs and some of those. The templates that you've used still refer to Deepwood Springs.
Okay.
Some of the.
Yeah, the paperwork we got, it says Steamboat Springs on it.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah, I need to get the right springs. Yeah, no problem. I guess that everybody goes to some of that.
Good to hear.
Tracy?
We do that to make sure.
Make sure we read it. Yes. Tracy?
Does the mayor have any objection to me doing a very quick review on existing special districts that are here in Clear Creek? By my count, under Title 32, we already have 11 districts in Clear Creek. 2 are metro districts that include St. Mary's and Saddleback. We also have a park and rec that covers most of Clear Creek, fire protection that covers the eastern portion that meets Evergreen, 3 water and sanitation districts, including Chicago Creek, Central Clear Creek, which covers Dumont, Lawson, and Downeyville, and St. Mary's. We also have a school district, soil district, where Jeffco's soil district meets ours on the southeast block, Clear Creek County Emergency Services General Improvement District, which covers all of Clear Creek, and the Water Conservancy District that kind of connects with the Upper South Platte Water Conservancy. It's down in the southwest. Colorado, in total, has approximately 2,800 special districts. Over half of those are metro districts. The reason they're formed are really focused on trying to be a part of the finance mechanism for development. It's very common, and this information does show through the state of Colorado, but it's covered under CRS 32, Title 32. There are 3 additional types of special districts, 2 in Title 31 and 1 in Title 30. But a lot of them do relate to interface with the finance mechanism to try to create the money for the development of public infrastructure.
So I'm going to allow some questions from the audience. It is going to be on the metro district, the metropolitan district that's being asked. If we start talking about development, access, and everything, I will cut it off. So we will, I think Mike has his hand up first.
I just, kind of a quick one and then a general for you guys. When you talk about the cost at 50% and then 72% of what's existing now, is this tax included in that? Projected cost?
But that has to do with the anticipated sale price.
Exactly, but are you including what the anticipated taxes will be along with that? Because if they have an additional 15 or 20% tax on that property, that would essentially increase your mortgage payment, yes?
Yes, the tax will increase the mortgage payment, not 15 or 20% by any stretch.
Okay. And then the second question or concern I guess I have for the city in regards to this, they're talking about new infrastructure and building some roads and some good things. It sounds like water and maintenance and all that, but I'm concerned because last month I was at a meeting and there was a really long discussion through the city and public works about the manpower and the time and the cost effectiveness to shovel a little bit of sidewalk down at the community garden. So how is the city going to get enough money, people, and funds to manage this type of infrastructure?
And those are the negotiations that the city would have to do with the Metro District to see if the city wanted to enter an agreement with them to maintain the roads, or if they should form an HOA to maintain the roads and sidewalks. But everybody's still responsible for their sidewalks being plowed. Candace?
Yeah, on one of your bullet points towards the end there, you said something that, just a blip, you guys are not responsible for water. I didn't quite catch what that was about.
We're not the water provider for the development.
Citizens
We just like this.
That's the water development, but how does this play into this district?
The district would construct the pipes that bring the water to the development. The district would construct those and finance those, and then presumably convey them to the city to provide the service. So the district wouldn't provide the water service, just the infrastructure.
Yeah, it would not add to our bond.
No. And that's the intent of this, that bond would be development.
Jody, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. You said something early on in your presentation about government immunity. What is that?
Similar to the city and the city council, if they act within the scope of their position as a council member, they have immunity from making a decision. It's just if you act with malfeasance or negligence of some sort, then there could possibly be some personal liability. And then there's also governmental immunity in terms of tort claims and contract claims and things along those lines if you're a governmental entity.
Okay, so that would all revert back to the developer. If there were claims, against the property, that would all revert back to the developer.
Well, it depends on what the claim is, I guess I would say. The intent of saying that the district would have governmental immunity is the idea of if the district were to own infrastructure, per se, they would have immunity from a loss or a lawsuit relating to that infrastructure. There would be, just like if the city owns its infrastructure, they're immune, they have some immunity there. There is no limit at that point. It's owned by the governmental entity. In terms of if there's a construction defect to the home or something, yes, the developer would still be on the line for that.
Can we get copies of this? Your presentation?
Sure. If you give me an email when I get off here, I'll be happy to give it to you.
Copies of that. Tracy, in your report of all the other special districts, are there other housing districts in Idaho Springs?
No, the two other metro districts would be St. Mary's and Central. Clear Creek, which cover Lawson, Downeyville, Dumont, and so
there's none in Idaho.
There's none in Idaho
Springs
Springs.
doesn't have any
But
metro.
those being metro districts, that's how those communities were formed, and it would have been impossible to go ahead and build those communities without establishing that mechanism to go ahead and help build infrastructure. So just to be clear, the special districts that are in place in Clear Creek right now as we speak are all quasi-governmental entities, meaning they have their own boards, they have their own governance, they have their own special immunity. So all of these are already functioning entities here that are pre-existing, that operate very similarly to what they're.
And the intent would be, once there's homeowners out there, they would be electors of the district and serve on the boards in the future and control the boards.
And my last question is, this seems very quick. Has the council had time to go over all of this material? And if not, do you have to vote on this tonight?
We don't have to vote on this tonight. We got our packets about a week prior to when we normally receive our packets for us to review. And I was waiting for tonight to hear the presentation and hear some questions and get some answers. As far as timing, that we have council, we'd like to take some time and chew on this a little bit, maybe have a work session to discuss what we heard tonight, which I think would be a pretty good idea to do.
A couple of things on that one. One, just so y'all know, I've been working with the city attorney for a few months now on this service plan and moving this forward. And in order to make a November election, which is what we're hoping to do, this is why we reached out for tonight to give us time to get through it. There's a filing of a petition with the court calling an election. We could likely make August. When's your next meeting?
August 12th.
That would be cutting it pretty short, which is why once again we set this. I wrote with Carmen months ago to set this as a date, and hope that this would be it.
And again, this is not an approval of a development plan.
No, I understand.
This is only saying we would allow you, we're okay with the metro district, so you can start looking at some funding to help pay for the infrastructure.
If the development approvals are approved.
Right.
So additionally, we received copies of their projected service plans for both District Number 1 and Number 2. The total in the documents that we reviewed was over 100 pages. And this is pretty routine for us when we have something that requires additional time ahead of the meeting. I'm hoping that I speak for the rest of my council members. We spend quite a bit of time reviewing these matters before we actually make it to this point. And I can tell you outside of the questions that I've heard tonight, which are part of the questions I had myself, I don't have any additional questions.
I don't understand, what is the relevance to the election?
So, in order to be organized, there's election dates that are November of every year or May of every other year. That's the only time you can have what's called a Tabor election, which allows the district to vote debt. And so in order to make the timelines, there's certain court filings that have to happen in order to get an election called. In order to make that happen, having this service plans approved tonight make it viable to make a November election. If we push it back further, there's a chance we would not make a November election, which would mean perhaps a May election, which could delay the development as it's anticipating, hopefully moving forward sooner rather than
So
later.
help me understand the election better. Who's the electors go out to? Who's the
So
electors?
the original electors will be made up of members of the development. So the development entity will have 4, 5, 6 people, the board of 5 people. And so depending on spouses and stuff, there could be as many as 10 electors that would be related to the development entity. They will vote to organize the district and authorize the debt. And then as the development matures, the homeowners will take over the board presumably as they get interested in the district.
So the electors are going to be, again,
The
10
developer,
people?
yes, up to 10.
Up to 10 people.
They're the only owner.
They're the only owner.
They're-
The only owner is the development entity. And entities cannot vote, so they designate individuals.
Okay. That answer your question, Mike?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just not familiar with the process, so it just seems so strange to vote for yourself to have an election. It seems so.
That's a state process.
There's nobody else, I get it, it makes
Right.
sense. But
And it's all statutorily required in how the process goes. There's a whole section of the election code dealing with just special districts and local governments and how they have to go
Title
through it.
32, and it's online, and you.
Dana, would you like to weigh in?
Yeah, can you pull up the 5,
Everybody doesn't know this is our legal
Oh, yes.
representation from the city.
So, in this resolution that you have before you, section 2 says the city council is reviewing the service plan, and you are voting based on following findings. There's 5 findings in the statutory, in the Colorado revised statutes. So that is what the council must legally look at, and not outside that. So is there a sufficient need for service? If for utilities and service, the 1, 2 existing service in the area, and then these are the 5 factors that you're looking at, and those are in the statute. And then a district cannot be, if it's wholly within the city, it cannot go to district court to then have an election without this resolution being decided. But the council is to look at these 5 factors, if that makes sense. Or a little more sense.
Council, any more questions? Audience, last chance. if there's something that we're not understanding still, and Jody?
If that goes to an election, then everybody in the district gets to vote on that?
Well, right now, the only entity in the district is the development entity, so it'll be that their designees will vote on the debt authorization. So right now, there is just vacant land owned by one entity. And by statutory construct, the way it works is they designate individuals through giving them a taxable interest in the property, so they're eligible electors of the district, and then they are the electors of the district until there are homeowners or other property owners.
I'm still confused, but I guess I'll stay there.
So I can tell you, unless you are an owner in Soda Creek Highlands, you would not be a taxpayer of the district. So unless you purchase a home in the future, there'd be no tax implication to you.
You just describe it essentially to the purpose of the district and how it's the people who live there are paying sort of the regular taxpayers of the city don't have to pay.
But yeah, the concept of districts over time, there's over 2,000 of them within the state. And the concept is development pays its own way. So the city does not want to pay for all these new roads, water, and sewer infrastructure that has to go in for this development to take off. So the property owners of just within this district and this project will be taxed additionally, and they'll disclose, so when they buy in, they know that they have an additional tax in order to pay for this infrastructure. So you guys, the other property owners within the city, do not have to pay an additional tax. The other concept is you'll issue more debt as a city and then pay for this, and that probably is not passed. Right. So this is a financing tool to make that happen.
It just seems very fast to me, like it's, you know,
Well, and I was not under, I did not know about with the election at the time of that.
And I believe Carmen had a work session with you guys a couple of weeks ago to try to discuss something.
Well, yeah, we just got the email, what, Thursday?
Right,
So,
about the election.
you didn't even have the details of it.
So we had a work, she said she had a hearing with you guys, started a work
Yeah,
session,
we
just
had a
to
work
go over
session.
districts generally.
Yes.
Because you don't want to talk about
Yes.
this specifically.
I don't know if we talked about the timing
Okay.
and being aggressive on timing, the approval of the ordinances.
You know, just to comment on the context here in Idaho Springs, that there are a number of other metro districts in the pipeline. These are just the first two. And the others are from multiple locations.
The development very rarely within the state now occurs without.
Yes, it's the most common way that they're funded.
Okay, any more questions, last chance?
We're talking about road infrastructure, but, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything because I don't.
Go ahead, I'll cut you out of the way.
Well, my question is, I know you were talking about putting a gate up at Pine Slope or whatever, and all the in particulars that would have to be worked out. But my question is, where are the 600 cars coming down from these apartments going to go? Because there's only one road out to Minor Street. So, maybe it's a stupid question, but I mean, if you want to come down Pine Slope and go downtown,
Yeah, I gotta reel you back in.
Well, I know, but I'm
Planned
just saying.
development and not the metro district is a process that they have to go through to continue to entertain the development. Yes, sir.
So, from what I get, my understanding is a metro district is a way for the developer to get the infrastructure put in, and that taxpayers pay for it. The taxpayers of the
No, the owners of
Yeah,
the home
the district.
but not the developer.
I'm sorry?
But not the developer.
The developer,
It would be passed on, to the homeowners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
My question is, it's gonna be passed on to the homeowners, but what about the road that gets them up to their homes? Who ends up paying for that? I mean, is that, and the planning of that for those, 600 cars coming down out of that development, how does that get paid for? Those homeowners aren't gonna pay for
Any
that whole
infrastructure that's
road and all
built
the
within
costs of it and all the, because everybody else is using that road that lives up there.
So the part of the development process, if there are off-sites and expansions of roads or improvements to roads outside of the district,
Any kind of impact, really.
that can be funded through the district, but the district only has a certain bonding capacity. And we're showing $4.8 million. It turns out there's $7 million of infrastructure that they need to construct because of the development plans that you guys agreed to. Then the developer will have to pay that difference. And that might be what happens. You might say, hey, we need another lane here, or we might need some upgrades or something. And that might be part of the approval process. I'm not part of that.
So again, just to refresh, with very specific direction towards traffic, road capacity, all of those things, parking concerns, all of those would be addressed in special studies connected with the final development plan, which would go through planning commission first. So it's a lengthy process in terms of the actual development. This is strictly the funding, or addresses the potential to get the funding to put in the infrastructure.
Okay, last chance. Good questions. I really appreciate the comments and staying within our conversation and what we're supposed to be talking about for the most part. Joey? Just our time. Okay. All right, council. Thank you very much. Do you have anything, developer, that you'd like to say about the Metro District or your attorney representation?
Well, I think Matt did a very good job of laying it out. I would just reiterate that these districts, two things I would reiterate. These districts are the way that development pays for itself. That's one of the mechanisms that allows the development that comes into a community to pay for itself so that people who already live in the community don't have to pay for it. And the other thing I want to reiterate, which is what a number of people have said, these districts on their own really don't mean a whole lot. What means a lot is the process that we will go through for zoning and plan development. And that, depending on how that goes, that will determine whether these districts have relevance or not. If there's no homes built up there, if there's no infrastructure built up there, these districts will just kind of dissolve.
Alan? You have anything that you'd like to throw in, or something we may have missed? No. Okay. Alan's from the bonding company. Hiding back there. Okay. Yes. Jim?
Yeah, I do have a question on that. If this development, say, the district is approved, and for some unfortunate thing, the money or it does not happen, whatever reason, can that go on to perpetuity? Can you say it's a 5 or 7 year of vacant land and then it reverts back the way it was? Or is there any timeline or does it just now? Can you exercise that thing 100 years from now?
So real quick, the service plan allows for the city to say, all right, it says, upon an independent determination of city council that the purposes for which the district created have been accomplished, which could mean there's no development, so there's nothing to accomplish. The district agrees to file petitions for dissolution. So if at some point in the future this doesn't go forward and it's sitting vacant, the city council can direct us to dissolve.
Okay. All right, council. We have resolutions that we have. If you want to entertain, do I have a motion?
I just have one question there. I mean, are we establishing that a 2-week period between now and the 13th or the 12th, next week, the 12th, are we saying positively that it creates a timeline problem.
I'll tell you, it puts at risk the ability to make a November election. Doesn't mean we could not, but things are under our control at that
Would
point.
1 week work?
Yes, we could,
Because I think that from what I'm hearing from council, is we need to probably chew on this a little bit more. And I can call for a special meeting next week when we have a work session. Call a special meeting and take a vote on it.
Okay, why not if it's between a no vote and another week, yes, we'll take another week, yes.
I would prefer that.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I got questions of staff, you know, how many additional personnel that everybody's gonna need if we agree.
Well, we haven't really established who's gonna maintain it yet.
Right.
That would come
It's
later.
maintained, yeah.
Yeah, that would be established later, agreement, whether it's a IGA or.
Right, right.
Okay, so let's do that, let's table it, till August 12th, no, I'm sorry, August 5th.
Well, next week is.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
August 29th, I'm sorry, I mean, July 29th,
Yeah, July, yeah.
we will, you gonna make a comment?
Yes, next week there is a public hearing scheduled for project 2, the wastewater treatment plant expansion.
That's okay.
That's at 6, just so you're aware.
So we already have, that's next week,
That's next week, that's the 5th Monday.
so we're having a special meeting already?
Well, it's a public hearing. It's a public hearing that's required for the funding for the wastewater
It's a
treatment plant
public
expansion.
hearing that we are.
It's required as part of the loan that we're getting. for the
Right.
wastewater
And it
treatment
is a
plant
special meeting.
It is a special,
Yeah, anyway.
so then,
It'll just
Can we
be
tack that
longer.
5 o'clock?
yeah, we'll take that on. So that's what we're gonna do, we're gonna table this until next week.
My understanding is council would not be taking action at that public hearing. It's just a presentation that has to happen as part of, it has to be a public
Okay, let's do
meeting.
that, we'll schedule a work session and a special meeting next week to take a vote on the metric issue.
Yeah, but, yeah, we
So, but point of clarification, I think that would probably have to be at 7, just to clarify, because we have that public hearing, that public meeting, I guess, public meeting at 6, it's already scheduled, advertised.
Can we do it at 5?
I think some folks that, can't make it here,
Okay,
I'd rather do it later,
7.
so we make sure people
So
are
I
on
think the
board.
earliest we could schedule a work session and or a regular, or a special meeting is
7
7 o'clock.
Let's do it 7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock next Monday night.
Dan, do you have any other thoughts on that? What you know?
I think that should work.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan for a couple of reasons. Number one, I know the council has studied metro districts, that gives the public another week to look into the issues and so on, and it still does not monkey wrench the
And
challenge.
then after some of the questions tonight, it kind of makes me want to
Yeah,
look at it a little deeper also.
yeah, I think it's an advantage for everyone.
All right,
Do you need any more information from the petitioner before next week, or?
council, any additional, documents or anything you would like?
Is that information available for
Okay, all right, it's on for next Monday night.
And I don't know if Andy would do this or how it would, or John, how it would get done, but can we make sure that this presentation is up on the website so that everybody can look at it?
I'll have it up by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You just get a copy? I have a copy.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, applicants, and we'll see you next Monday night.
All right.
All right, thank you very much. All right, then we'll move down, we, finance officer.
We still have one resolution.
Oh, yeah. See,
12.
I'm sorry, okay, do I have a motion?
Move to approve resolution number 12, series 2019, a resolution authorizing the loan from fund balance of the sales tax improvement fund to the water activity enterprise fund.
Second.
Motion and second discussion.
Put us on the table.
No, I don't think this has any negative.
We have talked with our cable attorney about this, and this is simply a way to reimburse the improvement fund for the purchase of
that entire parcel, half of it would be for public works and half of it would be for wastewater treatment plant. But yes, the legal implications were discussed with our attorney and specialized attorney in the rest of the
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yes, that we
Any other discussion?
Roll call. We do this every year for one reason or another. We got this, we transfer this money.
Okay, roll call.
Someone that seconded that?
We already had a motion in a second.
Who seconded
Yeah,
that?
I did.
Michael Hillman?
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis?
Okay, now we will move down to finance officer.
Mayor, I believe on those first two resolutions, you should take formal action on those.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Postpone those to next week.
I'll make the motion. I'll make a motion to table resolution number 10 and resolution number 11 till date certain, which will be the 29th of July. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Michael Hillman?
Yes.
Scott Pennell? Tracy Stokes?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis?
Yes.
Yeah, just a quick comment, at that July 29th meeting, will we have additional council members? Will Scott be back? And I think that would be very good if we have more.
I have no
I
idea.
I knew that he couldn't be here tonight. I don't know about next week. That's not a regular meeting, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking that having a more full council would be good for.
We need to rule on it next week.
Yeah, you're right. So,
Okay. Finance officer?
Does anyone have any questions for me? Finance report?
No, you probably answered them all in the work session.
yeah.
All right, city administrator?
Mayor and Council, you have my report before you with two requests for action, please.
All right, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the bid from Rock and Company in the amount of $165,000 plus a 10% contingency for the reconstruction of the front entrance of the City Hall from line item 2161-7040.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, discussion. So as you saw the two proposals in our packets, we sat down and really went over those, making sure that they had everything that we were, and make sure they were inclusive on the bids. There was about a $9,000 difference in the two bids. We talked about most of the subs were local. We took that into consideration. That was a big enough impact for us to waive off the lower bid. So that's why we got the low bid. Did they ever call back, Andy? Remember we called him to see if they
Yes,
were?
it did.
So he said 7 days after
Time frame to get
notice to
listed
proceed,
Yeah.
7 days it'll get going.
You need to get a building permit, but plans to be submitted to state build, so you have to factor that into the time and get something moving on this project.
And we also had the Haynes, the architects that did the drawings for that. They had some recommendations of some vendors they wanted to use. Both companies had those vendors in their proposals, so they did follow the architects' desires. So that was great. Anything else? Roll call.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I made the motion. Bob, I think second.
Tracy made the motion.
No,
I mean,
And both Bob and I said the second the same.
That's the confusion.
So, clear.
Okay, got it. Sorry. Michael Hillman?
yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes?
yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis?
Right, we have another action item. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve submitting to the Colorado Department of Local Affairs and Energy Impact Assistance Fund Tier 2 grant application in the amount of $1 million for Project 2 of the wastewater treatment plant expansion project.
Do I have a second?
Second.
That's Tracy and John.
Got it.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Michael Hillman?
Yes.
Scott Pennell, Tracy Stokes?
Yes.
Bob Boland?
Yes.
John Curtis?
Yes.
All right, I'll get prepared to go make another presentation for another $1 million. Hope I can stay 100%. Okay, City Clerk?
Mayor Council, I have my staff report for your review with no request for action.
And first, does anybody have any other questions for Andy? Okay, anybody have any questions for Diane?
Unless somebody wanted to talk about the packets for the election, will be available August 6th at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And will be due August 27th, 6th,
3 weeks, okay.
by 5 o'clock, with no exception.
Okay. All right. PD? Chief?
Mayor and council, thank you for accepting my amendment. I do have 3 requests for action. The first is that you might recall 2 weeks ago we disposed of a 2005 Crown Victoria. This week we would like to dispose of a 2003 Crown Victoria. This was the old black and white that we used to use as the decoy car on the streets. With the permission of the council, we'd like to transfer this vehicle to CDOT, who desires to use it at the Traffic Incident Management School that they hold at the Flat Rocks Police Academy. This vehicle was permanently removed from service at the beginning of this year. And the state will pay for all costs associated with removing it from the property. Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I would so move based on your comments. Go ahead and approve the disposal of that car.
Yeah, I need a formal motion. I need a formal motion.
Yeah. Well, that's what I did. I was making a motion based on.
Based on.
Dispose. Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Something you can read?
What's that?
You got something you can read?
Yeah, I gave it.
Oh, you don't have it? Oh, that's
I
why.
secretly.
Okay, I'll make a
all the
motion
time.
I'll make a motion to dispose of a 3 mini mark 2003 Crown Victoria and transfer ownership to CDOT, who desires to utilize the vehicle at its Traffic Incident Management School. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Michael Hill.
Yes.
Jeff Pennell. Tracy Stokes.
Yes.
Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
Yes.
All right.
My second request for action is the position of detective in the city of Idaho Springs is not a rank. That's very typical in other cities. As such, it's a appointed position. I'd like permission to appoint Officer Ryan Frost to the position of detective. This will fill the vacancy we've carried for over a year. There's no direct pay raise associated, but there is a differential of a quarter, an extra 25 cents an hour availability pay. What we get in return for that extra quarter is mandatory availability. And we do have the funding for it.
All right. Guess we need to do a motion on this to approve the additional 25 cents.
I lost that sheet of paper.
Tracy?
So.
Move to assign Officer Ryan Frost to fill the detective position that became vacant last year, in conjunction with a 25 cent per hour availability differential, which serves as compensation for a mandatory standby and availability on a rotating business with the department's second detective.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Pretty straightforward. Roll call.
Michael Hill.
Yes.
Jeff Pennell. Tracy Stokes.
Yes.
Bob Boland. John Curtis.
Yes.
Chief, number 3.
Number 3, as you know, we took delivery of Zach's code enforcement vehicle. That vehicle came in under budget, so we have a little bit of surplus. We'd like to use a portion of that surplus in the amount of $2,000 to continue outfitting the F-150 for evidence collection and crime scene investigation. And to do that, we're just asking for $2,000 for a cover for the box.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Have a line item just move from one place to another. Andy, does it move from one place to another as a line item?
No, they're the same line items.
Okay.
Yep. It's just that the city budgeted us $45,000 for the Colorado and $54,000 for the F-150.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve request to transfer $2,000 of the surplus funds to purchase solid cover for the department's Ford F-150.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
Motion second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Michael Helmans, yes. Now, Teresa Stokes. Yes. Bob Boland.
Yes.
John Curtis.
All right. We
I have a
will.
question for Chief.
Sure. Oh, any
I have a
questions?
question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you participate in a multi-agency effort down at Shadow Ranch for a building demo?
No, that was, we did not participate in that. It was fire used
Okay,
that for the
thank you.
purpose of a training exercise.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, we do have one question. I was just wondering how rapid grass.
It was outstanding. It was just really another great event, but the participation was a lot less than in past years. We believe because it was a month later. Usually it's in June. Perhaps the fact that it was in July had something to do with it, but it was really a great event. Oh, can I add one thing? Ryan Cross saved a life this past weekend.
Oh,
And, accommodations are forthcoming, but he was, encountered some folks that were in distress along the interstate, and was quick to realize that an infant was choking. And he took control of the baby and was able to open the airway. And there's no doubt in my mind that he saved that life.
I was driving by and saw that. I thought he almost had a little doll.
Okay, John.
Mayor and Council, I refer you to my staff report with no requests for action.
All right. John kind of talked about it, timing and construction things are going on. Anybody have any other questions for John? We are going to look at, John and I and Andy talked about it today. We feel that between 23rd and the fire station, it's very dark. There's a big space in there where there's no lighting. So we're looking at potentially getting XL to install some lighting in there. So it's not such a dark road between those two streets.
Mike, you might mention again why the dirt is being moved at
Okay, so if anybody's wondering why we have a dirt park again, the soil, the levels, pH levels were too high, and the grass wasn't taking and growing, so they had to remove a lot of the dirt, put some good topsoil in. And if we didn't do it next, I was a little disappointed when I saw it, because I wasn't told that it was going to happen. That if we didn't get it done and get it seeded now, then it would go into next year, because it would never take if we did it after the summer. So that's the reason the park's going up. We might want to do. Thanks, Bob. All right, water, wastewater.
Mayor and Council, I'll refer you to my staff report. I apologize for being late, but things are going pretty smooth down there now that we're finally coming up out of the ground. So.
Yeah, I saw it. Pretty impressive.
Looks like there's going to be a building there.
There's going to be a building there. All right, thanks, Dan. Any questions for Dan? All right, committee reports. Anybody have anything?
yeah.
I do know, yeah. Are you going to tell us?
So, I have been appointed by council to serve on the board for project support. Recently, they suffered a pretty significant incident with the director. She had a potentially life-threatening accident that occurred on July 4th. That has created some pretty urgent needs for staffing. So they recommended that I take up to a 90-day suspension, not rescission, but a suspension on the board to go ahead and assist project support in serving some of those little areas that need to be filled in while she is recovering. So I spoke with the mayor and he agreed to allow me to do that. So tomorrow I'll begin assisting them internally to try to bridge the gaps while Mary Hansen recovers from this serious accident.
Thanks for doing that, Teresa.
Yes.
Right. Anything else, council?
Yes. Article approved $100,000 engineering study for wildland fire protection on water and wastewater plants. Gold will pay 50. Gold and Westminster, Gold and Stanley Lake Group will pay 50,000 of it, and then Aqua will pay up to 100,000.
This is fire mitigation around water.
Yeah, if we have a wildland fire, like wildland fire and stuff that it impacts water treatment plant especially, and flooding, it's gonna develop a plan how to control that, how to get financial assistance from the federal government in case, you gotta clean the water before it gets to the plant, stuff like that. And all the towns will, and metro districts will own that land.
If you're not familiar with what UCWA is, it's the Upper Clear Creek Watershed. And what they do, the people down at Sloan's Lake keeps an eye on us up here because they're getting our water, and anything that goes wrong down there, they blame it on us. Right, isn't that right, Dan?
I did go over
Yeah. All right,
one other thing, I just, so the public knows that the visitor center, I think Scott would probably give this report if he was here. The visitor center has brand new restrooms as well as the ones at the park, and so it's open and take care of people. But my goodness, how big was that project? It was quite amazing.
the bathroom,
The new bathrooms that
Rennis,
The total cost?
yeah.
Yeah, the whole,
All told.
yeah, it was a fairly major project, but it's finished now. It's beautiful.
The reason we had to do that is we had water seepage up under the tile, flood the bathrooms, and it's been going on for years. We tried to fix it. We had to go in and put a sump pump in, and put some matting down to prevent that.
But that is another city property, and quite frankly, I feel really good about how it's being maintained right now.
Have you seen it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We went down there today to see it. Okay, all right. It is 8:30 and meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
I know.